Welcome to Safeco Field in Seattle, Washington, and it is a packed house and an electric crowd as they anticipate the first of three. Blue Jays are here, and when the Blue Jays are in Seattle, there's always a lot of Blue Jay fans, and I wish you could have heard the Canadian national anthem because everybody in this ballpark was singing along with the singer. It was a great sight and a great moment to start this series. Lots of fans in attendance, and generally they stay for the entire series, and this should be a great series. This is a couple of hours just as the general admission area opened in this stadium, and if you didn't know it, you'd say this looks like a Blue Jays home game at Rogers Center.
Or a rock concert at Rogers Center. Also, the national anthem brought Scotty Carson to tears up here. He was getting excited. What a playoff atmosphere feel like here tonight.
Well, and you also have King's Court. King Felix Hernandez starts the first game of this series. There's King's Court in left field, and in the upper deck, there's the high court. So Felix Hernandez, what a terrific season he's off to, 12-3 for the season. Let's take a look at the Blue Jays lineup. Munenori Kawasaki is getting a start at shortstop. Jose Reyes getting a much-deserved day off. Melky Cabrera in the 2 spot, and Melky has been a red-hot hitter. He's the DH, so he gets some time off here tonight. Jose Bautista. Colby Rasmus is in the cleanup spot because he has hit well against Felix Hernandez, 5 for 7 in his career. Navarro Valencia, Francisco Tolleson, and Anthony Gose round out the lineup as the Blue Jays open up this 3-game series against Seattle.
28-year-old Felix Hernandez is going to get the start for the Mariners, making his 25th start of the season. He is on a roll right now. He's 12-3. You see the 197 earned run average. That's the best in Major League Baseball. Check out the whip, 0.88. That's the best in Major League Baseball. He's also striking out to walk ratio about 6-1, which is the best of his career. He's got outstanding stuff. He's on a roll right now. He's got a Major League record. He's looking to add to that tonight.
Felix Hernandez is 4-5 against the Blue Jays for his career. This will be his 4th career start against the Jays here at Safeco Field. He is 0-2, and he has been hammered by the Blue Jays. They have hit .421 against him in 3 starts, 32 hits in 16 2/3 innings, and 20 earned runs. He has really had his problems pitching against the Jays here in Seattle.
In his career earned run average against the Blue Jays, .495. That's the worst against any team.
Munenori Kawasaki leading off. He is playing in place of Jose Reyes, who really needs the day off. Reyes, 19 innings yesterday, but he has played every inning lately and needs some time off. There's the first pitch of the game. It's in there, and we are underway. Kawasaki batting .281 for the season. Mooney played here with the Mariners 2 seasons ago, his first in the big leagues.
John Gibbons sticks him in that leadoff position for Jose Reyes. He's going to have to work the count. He's going to have to make Felix Hernandez work tonight. That's one way to beat him. Try and run up that pitch count and get him out of there early.
Bouncing ball right back to the mound. Kawasaki is out. 1 down. Felix Hernandez, just 28 years old. He came to the big leagues as a 19-year-old. They signed him as an amateur free agent out of Venezuela. This is his 9th big league season.
When he got to the big leagues at 19 years old, he was the 3rd youngest player to debut for the Mariners. And he has been good every year. Never had a bad year.
Melky Cabrera had an historic day yesterday, reaching base 8 times. He had 5 walks and 3 hits, and the oddity about that is he never scored a run.
Kept walking him, and John Gibbons is doing the right thing at DHing him today. Curveball in there for a strike. He was running a lot. He was on the bases, like you said, so many times yesterday. Played every inning of that ball game. Time to get him off his feet.
Ball on a strike. Another tapper right back to the mound. 2 down. Well, Felix Hernandez has a wide assortment of pitches, and he's not throwing as many fastballs as he once did.
Well, he's relying on his changeup and his curveball because they're so good. This is what he throws, the percentage of the throws, and what people are hitting against it. Look at the changeup, 0.94, and he's got the lowest opponent's average versus an off-speed pitch in all of baseball. Off of that off-speed pitch, the curveball, and that changeup, 135 this year for Hernandez.
Jose Bautista has had success against Hernandez. In fact, his only home run against Hernandez was his 50th home run a couple of years ago at Rogers Center. First inning home run. Felix Hernandez has a terrific delivery. Very well balanced, very fluid. He doesn't put a lot of pressure on his arm, and he has really learned how to pitch at a very young age.
Uses the lower half, but he's built. He's huge from the waist down.
Bautista takes that fastball outside.
This is a familiar theme that we have seen against the Blue Jays over the last 3 or 4 weeks. They get the first 2 batters, and then they become very careful with Jose Bautista. They try to nibble at those corners, and invariably they end up walking them.
To his credit, Bautista hasn't chased. He's got 79 walks for the season. He's got the best on-base percentage at .411. Robinson Cano is second to Bautista in that department. That changeup that Hernandez throws will be anywhere from 87 to 92. He can really make it dance.
And it really throws off the timing of those hitters. You see Jose out in front. Again, hitting just .094 against the change.
There's a fly ball to left. Ackley back. Austin Jackson calls him off. The center fielder makes the catch. 3 up, 3 down for Felix Hernandez. Top of the first. Drew Hutchison will take the mound for the first time against Seattle when we come back. Mariners, Austin Jackson, newly acquired from the Tigers. Dustin Ackley, now a left fielder. Robinson Cano, big contract in the offseason as a free agent, his first year here in Seattle. Kendrys Morales played in Seattle last year. Didn't sign until the middle of the season with Minnesota. Now he's been traded back here. Seager, Zunino, Logan Morrison, Andy Chavez, and the shortstop Brad Miller batting ninth. And they'll take on Drew Hutchison for the first time. They have not faced Hutchison.
First appearance by Drew Hutchison versus the Seattle Mariners. This is Drew's 24th start of the season. 8-9 with .439 earned run average. His last time out, that was vintage right there. 8 2/3, 8 strikeouts, retired 26 of 28. In fact, 22 in a row against the Baltimore Orioles. He was never in the stretch that whole game. That's how dominant he was.
For the first pitch, strike to Austin Jackson. 28 degrees at the start of this ball game. There's a slider at strike 2. Ground ball right to Tolleson. He was shaded up the middle. One up, one down. Take a look at the defense. It's a big ballpark. With that, you need some speed in the outfield. So Anthony Ghost gets the start in left field. Colby Rasmus is center. Bautista's in right. On the infield, Danny Valencia makes his third start at third base. Kawasaki starting at shortstop. Steve Tolleson. Juan Francisco at first, and Gianna Navarro is behind the plate.
Moody gets the start at shortstop. His last time he started short, June 22nd at Cincinnati. I asked him today his toughest place at going in the hole, backhanding balls in the hole, and making that long throw across the field. But he's anxious to play shortstop.
That's his natural position. He was a Gold Glover in Japan as an everyday shortstop, and that's a well-deserved day off for Jose Reyes. He's been on the bases a lot. Reyes had the 2 pivotal hits in each of the last 2 ninth innings. Bottom of the ninth, he tied it up. 2
good things can happen about that. He gets a day off and some rest. Get him off of his legs and let him rest up. You don't want to hurt him. And it's a heck of a bat to use late in the game if John Gibbons needs it.
Dustin Ackley, the left fielder. A ball on the strike. Ackley, Seattle's #1 pick in 2009. Second overall pick in that June draft. That's a pretty good pitch.
He wanted to.
Quinn Wolcott is the home plate umpire, and that pitch was by design. He was trying to elevate to get that strikeout.
He wanted to, the home plate umpire. He flinched like he wanted to and then had second thoughts.
Changeup missed downstairs. Full count. Robinson Cano is on deck.
I think that's going to have to be a big pitch for Drew Hutchison tonight, like it was in his last start. His changeup, they really forced him to use a lot of changeups, especially to the left-handers. This is a Mariners team with a lot of left-handed hitters in it. That changeup is going to be key for him tonight.
Fastball popped in the air. Francisco has room, gets there, and snow cones it. That ball was trying to get out of his glove, but he's able to make the catch. Drew Hutchison, talk about the improved slider and changeup. That's been the difference lately.
Yeah, he's been pitching much better because his sliders have more depth to it. You can see batters are hitting just 220 against that slider. They're forcing him to use that changeup, and he has to use that because I think it'll set up his fastball. His fastball still his primary pitch. They're hitting 245 against that. He'll establish that, but if you can work in that changeup and get it to move. He was turning it over in his last start and getting a lot of good movement on that changeup.
Robinson Cano. 367 his last 26 games. Cano's first season with the Mariners, and the Blue Jay fans are trying to root on the Jays. I tell you what, I wish you could experience this firsthand because it's a special atmosphere out here.
They bring their jerseys. They're boisterous. They're loud. They're here for batting practice. They're trying to get the Blue Jay players to come over, and the Blue Jay players go over and they sign autographs. It's almost like a home game.
There's a fastball strike. It's 2-1.
And you know what else? It's not just around the ballpark.
It's all over town. That's for sure.
Over town.
They really make it a nice trip.
That guy lost his ticket.
Yeah, he's sitting in King's Court. So I wonder what happened to all my buddies.
Yeah, I think he's in the wrong section, my man. Check your ticket stub.
Cano hits it to third. Danny Valencia. 3 up, 3 down for Drew Hutchison. Played an inning in Seattle. It's a scoreless game. Great atmosphere at Safeco Field. Rogers Center. He put on a show with his glove late in that ball game.
And boy, did the Blue Jays ever need it. Runner on first base. Miguel Cabrera sends this ball. Looks like it's going to end the game, but no. Wait a minute. Colby goes back, runs it down, and makes the catch. And then Brian Holiday, the next inning, in the 19th inning, runner on base, and Colby Rasmus steals another hit from the Tigers. Either one of those hits could have won the game for him. Colby Rasmus's glove saved it for the Blue Jays.
Holiday hit that ball with a runner at second. Don Kelly had his leadoff single and stole second. He was in scoring position, but Rasmus made that sliding catch, and then Romine struck out, and that set the stage for the 19th inning comeback.
That sounds funny when you say that.
19th inning. Longest game in Blue Jays history. Colby Rasmus in the cleanup spot tonight. Drills it to the alley in right center, and that's going to get down and go to the wall. Rasmus around first. He's headed for second. He continues to wear out Felix Hernandez. He is now 6 for 8 against the Mariners righty.
And we got to ask him what he sees against Felix Hernandez, because he has worn him out, like you said. Big numbers. No secret here. First pitch fastball right down Broadway, and Colby rips it into the gap. Been swinging the bat much better. You can see that's a nice short swing, head straight down on the baseball, and the bat goes right through.
16th double of the season for Rasmus. A leadoff double. Deanna Navarro, the catcher, dropped into the 5th spot. John Gibbons has done a terrific job of manipulating the lineup without his regulars. He's put different guys in spots that they're not used to. What a job right there. Cano's going to third, and he is thrown out. Rasmus. Robinson Cano has the best arm in the American League from second base, and Rasmus just reacted, not really aware of where Cano was. Cano was at double play depth at second, and he throws Rasmus out easily.
What a heads-up play right there by Cano. And as a base runner, you're taught to go on this, which he does. And if he doesn't go, you're saying, well, why didn't he go? He went that time, and he's tagged out at third base by Seager. Heads up play by Cano. There's the replay. He gets him before he gets to the bag.
Robinson Cano was set up in double play depth. He wasn't deep like he is right there. So he was aware that if that ball was hit to him, he was going to go to third. He had set up that perfectly. So Danny Valencia starting at third base tonight.
Boy, what if you're the runner right there and there's a ground ball like that and you don't go?
Yeah, everybody says, why didn't you go? But the last thing you got to do as a base runner is check out where the defenders are. That was a hard one for Rasmus, because your reaction is, hey, there's a ground ball on the right side. I'm going to move over. But
Cano heads up play.
Danny Valencia has been a nice addition to the Blue Jays ball club. He's hit .344 since coming aboard. 11 for 32. He's got a couple of RBIs, and he's hit 3 doubles. For the season combined with Kansas City and the Blue Jays, he's hit .296. This is where Hernandez gets tough.
You're going to have to pick on an off-speed pitch, because you're probably going to get one with 2 strikes.
Well, that's what makes him so tough. He's got the great changeup he throws anytime, and he'll use that to finish off at bats. He's got breaking balls, fastballs, good command. He has yielded a 100 batting average with 2 strikes. Only Dylan Betances of the Yankees has a lower opponent's batting average with 2 strikes. Valencia stays alive.
I mean, that's putting guys away right there. That's what you want to get from a number 1. When he jumps ahead like that, finish him off.
The major league average for a batter with 2 strikes is 177. Hernandez is pitching to a 100 average. He's that much better than the major league average. Danny Valencia, 2-2, 1 out. Fouls it off. Valencia can't really be enjoying a bat like this against Hernandez. He's got the fastball up to 95. Cut the fastball, sink it. He's a battle.
And look where all the pitches are when we get up the pitch tracks. Everything is down. Going to have to set your sights low against Felix. It looks like he's got his A game today.
That is a terrific sight down the left field line. Whenever Felix Hernandez pitches, the Kings Court shows up with those gold jerseys. That's the left field lower section. Second section, when he became even more popular, it rose up to the second section. Then the high court, of course. You got to be special to be in the high court. Breaking ball pulled to third. Seager to second. Cano back to first in time. Tim Leeper felt like Valencia beat it, and they're going to ask for a review. First base umpire is Dale Scott. He's the crew chief. Tim Leeper quickly motioned to John Gibbons in the dugout, and now the Mariners have come off the field. And Dale Scott said, "Come on, Seattle, you got to come back." And John Gibbons has said, "How you doing there, Dale? You know, we played 19 innings last night. I'm just going to take my time until I see from DeMarlo Hale." DeMarlo Hale is in communication with Sal Butera, who is in the clubhouse looking at the replay. And they're hopeful of getting a thumbs up. What are you looking for? What do you see? What do you got? Just a minute. I'm just about there. And they give up the ghost. So Valencia grounds into a double play to end the inning. We'll go to the bottom of the second. Still no score.
Blue Jays on Sportsnet. Brought to you by the 2014 Honda Civic, Canada's best-selling car 16 years in a row, and the official vehicle of the Toronto Blue Jays.
Beautiful Seattle and gorgeous Safeco Field, one of the beautiful ballparks in North America. Kendrys Morales back with the Mariners. Morales, now 31 years old, is from Cuba. Signed with the Angels as a free agent in 2005. Didn't sign this season until June 8th with the Minnesota Twins. He's late on that fastball and fouls it back. Morales was traded for on July 24th from Minnesota. Sent reliever Stephen Pryor to the Twins in exchange for Morales.
It's an interesting trade, isn't it? They had their chance with him as Hutchison blows him away. They let him go and then they get him back.
Well, now let's check in with Jamie Campbell. He's got an update for us. Thank you, Jamie. Obviously, It is August. We're in the second week of August, and there's a lot of scoreboard watching going on. And you can bet Kansas City has their eye on that Pittsburgh game, and the Pirates have an 11-6 lead over the Tigers as they go to the ninth.
Justin Verlander started that game for the Tigers and gave up 4 earned runs and left with a sore shoulder.
1 inning.
That could be bad news for Detroit.
Kyle Seager hits one to left. Easy play for Anthony. Goes 2 up, 2 down here in the second. Now the Tigers don't need any more bad news. They made 8 moves today as they had to overcome the impact of that 19-inning game. Blue Jays just made 1. They added Brad Mills, but Tigers, they shuffled their whole bullpen. And they all got into the game today. Justin Miller, Ian Kroll, and Kevin Whalen all got into the game. They were just added to the roster.
They're probably fortunate that they made all those pitching changes because Verlander only went 1 inning.
There's a high pop on the right side of the infield. Mike Zunino, the catcher, pops out. Well, what a quick inning for Drew Hutchison. 3 up, 3 down. He's retired 6 straight. Only 7 pitches in the second. Seconds for the biggest advance in every game-changing play. Blue Jays in 60 seconds after every game, only on Sportsnet.ca. And I want to see that Blue Jays in 60 seconds from yesterday's game. There's no way they could jam 19 innings into 60 seconds.
Or all the highlights that happened in the game. There was so much that went on in that game yesterday. That was an instant classic, wasn't it?
Beautiful ball game, and many people, the national beat writers and national columnists, were talking about that being the best game of the year. Considering that they were 2 contending teams, you had a Cy Young Award winner up 5-0 in the game. And for David Price, that was his shortest outing since May. So there were a lot of highlights in that game, and it was a terrific game. And hard to imagine how the Blue Jays would have reacted had they lost that game. Maybe like the Pirates and like the Tigers in Pittsburgh tonight.
Yeah, down. Those are the kind of games, those emotional wins like that, that can really get you through a tough spot in your schedule. It gets my vote. I'll give it the vote for the best game of the season.
Yeah, it was a great game. Many, many wonderful aspects of that game. John Gibbons, he was very proud of the way his guys battled. They scored a run in the ninth to tie it and hung in there. And they were down 5-0. It would have been easy just to roll over. David Price was 7-0 against the Blue Jays at Rogers Center. He ended up with a no decision.
2 things happened in that game I thought that really turned the tide to the Blue Jays. Deanna Navarro's 2-run home run. It was like, okay, hey, we can get this guy. And then Danny Valencia hitting the line drive off of Price's knee. Just seemed like it turned the tide.
There's a high fly ball deep into center. Austin Jackson right on the edge of the warning track makes the catch. Let's check in with Jamie Campbell. Chris Davis is hot again. He's got 21 home runs. He hit that one tonight. Scope with his 10th. Cruz with his 31st. The Orioles 11 runs on 14 hits. They have jumped all over the Yankees. Steve Townsend takes a first pitch strike. Townsend batting for the first time against Felix Hernandez. Hernandez signed as a free agent. We mentioned he came out of Venezuela. He signed with the Mariners in 2002, and that was under the watch of Pat Gillick. Pat Gillick was the GM here in 2000 to 2003. I can remember I ran into Bob Enkel, who was a big scout and a big assistant for Pat Gillick in Toronto and here in Seattle.
Did Bob sign King Felix?
It was around Christmas time of 2002, and I was at the airport, and Engel was going to Venezuela. 1-2. There's a breaking ball on McCorder. Strike two.
Is that who he brought home for Christmas?
Yeah, he brought home a very nice Christmas present for Pat Gillick. Gillick and Bob Enkel were a terrific tandem.
Okay.
There's that strikeout we mentioned. It. Hernandez has given up a 100 batting average with 2 strikes, and he strikes out Thomason. When you look at the last 15 starts for Felix Hernandez, it's a record pace. 8-2, an ERA of 1.42. Opponents batting under 200. The whip is marvelous, and his strikeouts nearly 10 per 9 innings.
And this is the major league record that we were talking about. 15 consecutive starts with at least 7 innings pitched and 2 or fewer earned runs. In this day and age, when the starters don't put up those kind of numbers, it's phenomenal what he has done.
The last guy to go 15 straight, accomplishing 7 innings plus and 2 or fewer earned runs, Gaylord Perry in 1974, pitching for the Cleveland Indians. Anthony Ghost taps it to third. Seager was in on the grass. Another quick inning for Hernandez. 3 up, 3 down in the third. Still a scoreless ball game.
Blue Jays on Sportsnet. Brought to you by the 2014 Honda Civic, Canada's best-selling car 16 years in a row, and the official vehicle of the Toronto Blue Jays. And by Home Hardware, homeowners helping homeowners with expert advice.
Beautiful Puget Sound as we're enjoying a great Monday night. Lots of Blue Jay fans on hand for the first of 3. The Mariners have a 12-1 record on Mondays. They also have played very good in series openers. Both of these ball clubs have been great in the first games of series. Logan Morrison goes after the first pitch and hits it into right field. That's the first hit off of Drew Hutchison. He is coming off a great start last time out against the Orioles and snapped a 4-game losing streak.
Well, what he did so well is he used his changeup against the Orioles. His slider had a lot of depth to it. He just kept going out there and pounding the strike zone using the fastball. He got 8 strikeouts. He only gave up 1 hit. That was a home run. Again, he never pitched out of the stretch the whole game. At one point, 22 in a row, and the Blue Jays really needed that one against the Orioles, and Hutch came up big.
It was a big game for him personally as he was bounced early in his previous start. 3 innings, 6 hits, 4 runs at the hands of the Astros in Houston. Endy Chavez, the veteran, now 36 years old. He's in his 11th major league season. He started with Kansas City in 2001. Went to Montreal in 2002. Then he went from Montreal to Washington with the team. Shows bunt, pulls the bat back. Chavez has had 2 different stints with Seattle. He played with the Mariners in 2009, then came back last season. He's played with Kansas City, Montreal, Washington, Philadelphia, the Mets, Seattle, Texas, and Baltimore.
He's the kind of guy who's played on some good teams. Kind of guy that every team needs, that 4th outfielder, that veteran.
Hit and run is on, and Chavez cuts it through the left side to left field. And the ghost was in shallow, so Morrison has to stop at second. Back-to-back base hits here in the 3rd.
You saw that one coming big time. As soon as the count went to 1-1, Lloyd McClendon starts the runner over at first base, and Chavez, he's been around. Watch him cut his swing down and just try to make contact. You got to make sure you get that ball on the ground, and he finds a hole. Your only job is to get it on the ground. That's the only thing you have to do. He does it perfectly. 1st and 2nd now, setting up a bunt situation.
Brad Miller, the shortstop, not showing bunt, takes it up and away. Miller is a 2nd-round pick of the Mariners. They did a terrific job the last couple of years utilizing their draft picks. He was drafted in 2011 out of Clemson University. Had a good rookie season last year. He had 265, but it's been a struggle for him this season.
I tell you, he goes up there swinging and swinging hard. He's got a little pop in that bat.
He was a terrific hitter in the minor leagues. He had 290 hits in 219 minor league games, a .334 career average in the minors. So far, it hasn't translated. Ball and a strike. Now he shows bunt early. And he bunts it, and they're going to go to 3rd, and Hutchison was there to make the play, but he wisely looked to 3rd, and Valencia was off the bag. And that's a tough play. Remember, Valencia is starting just the 3rd game at 3rd with the Blue Jays. So the communications broke down. Hutchison got to the ball beautifully.
Third baseman, what he does is he's got to read that. As soon as he sees that it's back to the mound, he's got to hustle back to 3rd base, but Valencia cannot get back there. Hutchison wisely went over to 1st base. If a team is going to give themselves up like this bunt right here by Miller, you've got to get an out somewhere.
Yeah, once he saw that Valencia was trying to make his way back to 3rd, that was a risky throw, and he chose not to make it. Back to the top of the order, Austin Jackson. He loops it into center field, and the second baseman is back, Tollison. They break for home, but Tollison unloads in a hurry to keep Morrison at 3rd. Good play by Steve Tollison, not only getting back to make the catch, but to unload it in a hurry and keep the runner at 3rd.
Get back and make that play. The Blue Jays did the smart thing. They didn't have the infield in. If they had the infield in right there, that ball's going to drop in for a base hit. But they play back. They're going to give him the run, and it worked out for him because this Bluth is run down by Tollison and then gets the ball back in quickly to the cutoff man, so Morrison can't score.
Dustin Ackley, the left fielder, popped out to the first baseman his first time up. Pop back out of play over the screen.
That high fastball so far has been a good pitch for Hutchinson here the first couple of innings. Mariners haven't been able to get on top of it.
Good crowd on hand tonight on a gorgeous evening in Seattle. Drew Hutchison trying to back up his previous start. He was great against the Orioles. Bouncing ball to first. He's going to get out of it. Francisco steps on the bag to end the inning. The Mariners strand a pair. We'll go to the fourth. Munenori Kawasaki, the leadoff man. Then Melky Cabrera, Jose Bautista. It's a scoreless game. Thank you, Jamie. And he did a backflip because the Royals have leapfrogged over the Tigers into first place. Tigers losing to Pittsburgh, and they now have a half-game lead over the Tigers. The Tigers had a 5-game lead in the Central when they acquired David Price in that trade. And now they find themselves in second place. There are no guarantees in baseball.
Nope. They plugged a hole right there, but a couple more have started. Some leaks have started in the Tigers, most notably the bullpen.
Munenori Kawasaki batting in the leadoff spot tonight. Grounded back to the pitcher. Hernandez has faced the minimum through 3 innings. He got a double play off the bat of Danny Valencia in the second. (3-0).
Surprised he threw him a couple of breaking balls to start this inning.
Yeah, it really didn't make any sense. And Kawasaki has proven he's going to take a lot of pitches.
He'll probably take 2 right here. There's 1. He's not afraid to hit with 2 strikes.
Kawasaki swings just 35% of the time. When he's up there trying to get on base, the major league average is 46%. He takes another. Kawasaki's in the top 10 in that department in the major leagues. He's very patient. Bouncing ball, Cano at second. 1 down. That'll bring Melky Cabrera to the plate, and he has been on fire since the All-Star break. He has a .400 average. That is second in the American League. OPS is second as well. He has 36 hits. That's the top number in the American League. He's come out of the All-Star break with a smoking hot bat.
You know what this is all about? This is all about discipline right here. Melky Cabrera comes to work every single day. He goes through the same routine every day. It's also his birthday today, yes, August the 11th. He comes to work. He's got a routine, a set routine that he does in the cage and on the field. And when you have that type of discipline and motivation, you come to the ballpark every day, you're going to contribute and have these big numbers.
Reaches for that. Miller behind second. Strong arm. 2 down. Brad Miller, a fine defender, and he's always been an offensive player, so I know he's going to hit. He got off to a good start to get that sophomore slump working a bit.
A lot of errors right now this year. 14 errors, a lot of them throwing.
Not unusual for a young player trying to do a little too much. Jose Bautista flied out to center field his first time up. You're wondering about Bautista hitting a home run against King Felix. Doesn't happen very often. Felix has allowed 6 home runs all season long and none with 2 outs.
How about that stat? Finish off the inning. 2 strikes he has, or excuse me, 2 outs. He's never given up a home run this year. Bautista, he got him though one time.
He got him once. Boy, this is a terrific battle, isn't it? Great pitcher against a great home run hitter.
You can see both of them with their thoughts. All right, how am I going to get him out? And Jose saying, okay, what's he going to do to try and get me? Staying away.
Two and 2. Bautista goes down and lines it into the seats. He went down and got that fastball. It was away from him.
Hernandez is dialed in down tonight. Low. He's got a great release point right down. That fastball is right at the knees to all of these hitters on the Blue Jays.
He knows his record against the Blue Jays and the fact he's never beat him in this ballpark. Bautista drives it to left. This ball is up, and gone. The first 2-out home run of the season hit off Felix Hernandez, and the Jays have a 1-0 lead.
Jose Bautista does it again. Got the game winner in yesterday's 19-inning game, and now he touches up King's Felix for the second time in his career. Looked like it might have been a changeup, and Jose timed it up perfectly.
For Bautista, his 23rd of the season. Rasmus bunts it foul off the catcher.
One more time. Watch the reaction. Change up. Felix knows it. He knows that one's not coming back.
Just the 7th home run Hernandez has allowed all season long. Second one that Bautista's hit against Felix Hernandez.
Boy, that's a pretty way to hit a changeup. He's got that high leg kick that he used as a timing mechanism, and then recognized it and then just exploded to that baseball.
Kobe Rasmus doubled in the second. He was thrown out advancing from second to third by Robinson Cano. 1-0 Jays. It is Colby's birthday as well. Both Colby and Melky Cabrera celebrating birthdays today, August 11th. 3 call. Hernandez comes back and strikes out Rasmus to end the 4th, but Jose Bautista, with nobody on and 2 outs, is happy that he has given the Jays the lead. Home run number 23. That is the official app of Major League Baseball. Listen to live audio, follow games pitch by pitch, and enjoy in-game video highlights. The app is available on the iPhone, iPad, iPod Touch, Android, and BlackBerry. Season-long subscription packages are available. Visit BlueJays.com for more details. Well, Blue Jay fans are happy early on here. They have a 1-0 lead as Robinson Cano will start off the 4th. Cuts on the first pitch. Jose Bautista with a solo home run with 2 outs has put the Jays out in front. Second career home run Bautista has had against Hernandez. Cano grounded out to 3rd, his first time up.
Power numbers are down what you thought they would be for Robinson Cano, leaving Yankee Stadium and coming into this ballpark. Still a great hitter.
Cano's a terrific hitter and an outstanding second baseman. He was second in the Rookie of the Year voting his first year with the Yankees in 2005. Houston Street was the Rookie of the Year that year with Oakland. Cano signed as a free agent with the Yankees in 2001. Spent 9 years with New York. For his career, he's a .311 hitter.
He's got a very simple approach, but he's in a great power position right there. Tucks that front shoulder, and he's got great hands. Great hands, strong hands that come through the strike zone with that bat.
He has huge hands. You can see them on that bat, and that allows him to just wait till the last possible moment to decide to swing. Upstairs, that straightens him up.
27 home runs last year, 33 the year before with the New York Yankees, just 9 right now.
Much different ballparks. Certainly that short porch in right, very inviting for left-handed hitters in Yankee Stadium. Cano takes the leadoff walk. Well, this series has wild card connotations, although we still got a month and a half left in the season. But John Gibbons knows that he wants to come out here and play well against the Mariners. You see the wild card standings as we speak. The Angels have a 4.5 game lead over second place Tigers, who have lost tonight. The Mariners a game and a half back of that second wild card spot, tied with the Blue Jays, and the Yankees slipped to 3 back.
Mariners,
Morales.
Excuse me, Buck. I think the Mariners know the importance of this series. They held Felix Hernandez back a day. His day to throw was yesterday, but Boyd McClendon said, you know what, I want King Felix for meaningful games in September, so they held him back from yesterday's start, gave him an extra day to start in this big series against the Blue Jays.
Changeup. 0-2. Morales struck out his first time up. The Mariners won 3 of 4 against the White Sox, wrapping up that series yesterday. They also took both games against the Braves in this homestand, 5-1 on the stand. They're 11-11 since the All-Star break. After this series against the Blue Jays, they'll have Thursday off, and then they go back east. A 3-city, 9-game trip. Detroit, Philadelphia, and Boston. 1-2. Ground ball, foul outside of first. That's one of the big challenges for the Mariners. They travel on their off days, and they're as far away as you can get. So they will fly back to Detroit on the off day, start playing the Tigers on Friday, then they play Philadelphia for 3 and Boston for 3. It's a tough trip.
Yeah, it's tough anytime you have to come to Seattle, or if you play for Seattle, you're on that plane a lot.
Bounced in the dirt. Good job by Navarro. That ball was in front of home plate. He was able to get his chest protector on it. Navarro's been a very good influence on this young pitching staff, especially the youngsters, obviously, with Hutchison, Stroman, and Sanchez now working out of the bullpen. He has been able to really help guide them through these games whenever they hit a rough spot.
A couple of hits last inning for the Mariners, and they were able to get out of it. Hutchison was able to get out with a pop-up and a ground out. Now he's got the lead. Don't want to start overthrowing right here just because you have the lead.
Or overthinking. It's a big ballpark. You keep the hitters in a big part of this park, you'll have a good outing. Cano is 9 for 11 in steal attempts. He picks his spots very carefully. I don't think this is a situation where he would run early in the ball game, but Hutchison has other thoughts.
He's airing it out over to first base too. See that one about 100 miles an hour to Francisco.
There's a fly ball to right. This ball is headed for the seats, and it'll get there out of play. Fan made a nice catch, had his glove and leaned over, made a catch. Good thing he brought his glove. This is a beautiful ballpark, and you can see the Mariner fans and the Blue Jay fans are mixed in amongst them.
Great crowd.
Looks like it's just about sold out. Of course, this is a terrific sports town. The reigning Super Bowl champions just across the street. The Seahawks. That stadium right beyond the seats in left field is where the Seahawks play. There's a drive to right. Bautista on his horse. He's not going to get it. Cano is headed for third. Rasmus gets it back in quickly, and they stop Robinson Cano at third. Rich Donnelly, the third base coach, threw up the stop sign very quickly as Kendrys Morales hits his 14th double of the season after the leadoff walk to Cano.
You know, I think if this was later in the ball game, if there was 1 or 2 outs, he would have sent him here. It looked like a changeup middle in to Morales, and he hits it over Bautista's head. Rasmus did a good job getting over there with the bare hand and getting it in quickly. But again, Donnelly, the third base coach, held Cano very early. Thought they had a shot to score him, but he didn't want to run into an out with nobody down.
Well, you got Kyle Seager coming up, and he's their best RBI guy. 71 ribbies. So Donnelly, a veteran third base coach, made a good decision. You know what? I don't want to make it out at home plate when I got this guy coming up. Donnelly is pointing to Kendrys Morales, saying if they hit it to Bautista, you're not scoring. 1-0 to Seager. Down and in. Kyle Seager has developed into a very good hitter. He was an all-star this season. Turned into the everyday third baseman in 2012 with Seattle. He's a third-round pick in 2009.
He got a great approach at the plate. An approach that's going to make him a hitter that hits for high average.
3-0.
He stays short and compact. He thinks about the big part of the ballpark. He's getting in the spirit. Playoff baseball.
Seager swinging on 3-0. Hits it high and deep to center. Rasmus back. He makes the catch. Cano tags. He's coming in to score. Seager got the green light on 3-0 and delivers the sac fly. And just like that, we're tied at 1.
You had to figure that they were going to give Seager the green light. He's driven in 71 runs this season. Facing a right-hander, he got a fastball, but Rasmus was deep. He hauls it in right in front of the 401 sign in center field. But it's a productive at-bat for Seager. He gets the RBI. Morales moves over to third base.
And that'll move the infield in on the edge of the grass. Pete Walker with a quick visit to the mound. Pitching coach out to talk to Drew Hutchison. It's a 1-1 game. Boy, that leadoff walk once again. I don't care how many times you do it. You walk that leadoff man, he's going to come around and score. So now the rookie catcher, Mike Zunino. And he's a free swinger.
Yeah, and he'll swing early and often. It was really interesting when Pete Walker went out there to talk to Drew Hutchison. Zunino went back and talked to his manager. Lloyd McClellan had a few words to say to him before he came up to hit.
He swings at everything. He's a very aggressive hitter. He's got power. He's got 18 home runs. That's just one off the franchise record for homers by a Mariners catcher, hitting nearly 300 over his last 10 games. Hits this one into right. Bautista quickly over. It's a fair ball. Hits just inside the foul line, and Zunino drives in Morales from third, and the Mariners have taken the lead.
Drew Hutchison got him last time by pounding him in with a fastball, and he goes right back there. You see how Zunino is tied up. He just can't extend, but he's strong enough to bloop it down the right field line out of the reach of Bautista for an RBI single.
Zunino picks up his 44th RBI. He's been a productive hitter despite the 211 average.
Yeah, 211 with 44 RBIs now. Hutch made a good pitch on him. Jammed him with that fastball.
Logan Morrison got a base hit his first time up, a leadoff single in the third. Morrison has a connection with the hitting coach of the Blue Jays. Kevin Seitzer worked with Morrison as a high school player in Kansas City. He grew up in Kansas City and worked with Seitzer at his hitting clinic.
Yeah, he showed up one day and his father wanted him to learn from Seitzer, drilled him with a lot of questions, and he answered them, and he worked with him since he was a young kid.
Kevin Seitzer was so impressed with Logan Morrison, he recommended him to the Royals.
He said, I don't do that very often. I don't come in here and say this, but this kid's going to be a major leaguer. This is when he was in high school. And he begged them to draft him, but they didn't.
His single in the third inning extended his hit streak to 12 games. He was eventually drafted by the Florida Marlins in the 22nd round in 2005. His best season was 2011. He hit 23 home runs and drove in 72 for the Marlins. 1-2, 1 out. Well, he stays alive. He got a piece of that breaking ball.
With a little depth on it.
Well, the Blue Jays took the lead in the top half of the 4th inning on a 2-out home run by Jose Bautista, and then Drew Hutchison committed the sin of walking the leadoff guy, Robinson Cano, and he came around to score on the sacrifice fly Kyle Seager. And Mike Zunino cashed in Kendrys Morales. There's a fly ball to left field, goes quickly back, makes the catch on the warning track. Morrison is retired. Tell you what, it is a warm night here, and all throughout batting practice you could see the ball was really traveling here.
Morrison was fooled on that pitch right there from Hutchison and took a swing and drove Ghost all the way to the warning track. The ball is really carrying. Normally a great pitcher's ballpark here at Safeco Field.
And D. Chavez had a single to left his first time up. Boy, he took a hack at that high fastball. Anticipating Hutchison was going to try to get ahead of him.
Got under that. He wound up and swung at that one. High leg kick. He was looking to go deep.
Hutchison pitched out of a tough situation in the 3rd. He was able to retire Austin Jackson on a pop-up and Dustin Ackley on a ground out to strand a pair of runners.
Stop the bleeding right here.
Off-speed pitch off the end of the bat. Thomason goes to first. The inning is over, but Seattle has taken the lead. 2-1 leadoff walk and a couple of runs on 2 hits. Now it's time for a Blue Jays Central update. Here's Jamie Campbell and Greg Zahn. Baseball shirt giveaway will take place Sunday, August 31st when the Blue Jays take on the New York Yankees. Game time is 1:07 p.m. The first 20,000 fans will receive a Blue Jays long sleeve baseball shirt. Call the Jays directly at 416-341-1234 or log online at BlueJays.com to order your tickets for the Blue Jays long sleeve baseball shirt giveaway Sunday, August 31st. Drew Hutchison staked to a 1-0 lead, went back out and walked the leadoff man in the bottom of the fourth, and that's probably why he's upset. The Blue Jays gave him a 1-0 lead, and he handed it right back and more. Seattle has a 2-1 lead, and Felix Hernandez is on the mound.
That might be a fine in the kangaroo court right there. A leadoff walk.
Oh, I thought you meant spilling the bubble gum.
Oh. Well, maybe so. Maybe both.
Okay, who spilled the bubble gum? Yonder Navarro. Reached on a fielder's choice. He was erased on a double play. Boy, he was fooled on that pitch.
I think he was looking for the breaking ball. Hernandez crossed him up and through. Just a fastball at 91. Tell you what, they get excited when he gets to 2 strikes, don't they?
Kind of like what the old fans at old Yankee Stadium used to do when Ron Guidry was having that terrific season. He'd get to 2 strikes, never been in the ballpark would stand up. Oh, hail the king. Gets another strikeout. That's 3 strikeouts now for Hernandez.
That time it looked like a breaking ball. To the delight of the fans, he let him off with that overhand curveball.
Danny Valencia grounded into a 5-4-3 double play that ended the second inning. Well, he's got such a wide assortment of pitches that he can throw at any time. That was a slider.
And he doesn't fall into any patterns. Early in the game, it was fastball. Now he's using the breaking ball early in the count. And again, you can tell he is dialed in against those right-handers, down and away.
Hernandez won the Cy Young Award in 2010. He was 13-12, but he had a .227 earned run average. That's that comeback fastball that caught the outside corner.
And he was saying the other day, Buck, that he feels like he's throwing better now than he did the year he won the Cy Young. All his numbers seem to indicate that.
Fastball popped in the air, shallow right field. Cano calls off the first baseman and makes a basket catch. He made it look easy.
Boy, does anybody play second base as smoothly as Robinson Cano does?
No, he's a terrific athlete. And he's here in his first season as a free agent, and he has really fit right in. I think everybody was surprised that Cano would choose Seattle for his free agent club. He got a 10-year contract for $240 million. I guess it's difficult to say no.
That's a good reason.
It'll take him into 2023. He'll be 41 years old at the end of that contract. Juan Francisco flew out to center his first time up. Ball on a strike, 2 outs. I spoke to Lloyd McClendon before this ball game. Lloyd, of course, is in his first year as the manager of the Mariners. I said, what is your impression now, having watched Hernandez work every day? He said he's better than I thought. He's a great teammate, works hard to get himself ready, and he loves to compete. You see him maybe once or twice a year as an opposing coach or a manager, and yeah, you appreciate what he does because you can see his numbers, but when you see him on a regular basis, he said he wants everybody on his team to succeed. Ground ball hit to the shortstop. Miller throws on the run. Nice play. Brad Miller made a nice play. It's appreciated by the pitcher. 3 up, 3 down. The Jays go quietly in the 5th. These two franchises that were American League expansion teams in 1977, the expansion cousins, they're the all-time wins. 2,900 for the Blue Jays, 2,700 for Seattle. Head-to-head comparisons, Blue Jays have a slight edge. They have both been to the playoffs a lot, but the big difference, Blue Jays have 2 World Series trophies.
And the Mariners have not been to the World Series yet. They got close a couple of times.
Lou Piniella was honored here on Saturday night, and he said that was his biggest regret, that this great organization couldn't make the final step to the World Series. Piniella was here 10 years as manager and did a terrific job with this organization. He really acknowledged Woody Woodward, the great GM, for a long time, and Woodward was the longest tenured GM of the Mariners. And Piniella, a lot of people have images of Lou Piniella throwing his hat and kicking bases and kicking dirt on the umpires, but he got pretty emotional when he talked about Dave Niehaus, the late longtime radio broadcaster of the Mariners, radio and TV broadcaster, and he was a good friend with Lou Piniella, but he was inducted into the Mariners Hall of Fame on Saturday night. Niehaus was an expansion broadcaster, same persona of Tom Cheek with the Blue Jays.
Yes, here in Seattle. That one team that they had out here set the modern day record for most wins in a season. I believe that was 2001, something like that.
Yeah, that was Ichiro's first season.
Yeah, just there it is, 160 wins, which was eclipsed by the Yankees, and everybody forgets about that now.
Of course, the Mariners defeated the Indians, and then the Yankees beat the Mariners in 2001, 4-1 in the ALCS. But some great names. Jamie Moyer was pitching for the Mariners in 2001. Of course, the Yankees had Pettit, Messina, and Clemens. Miller strikes out.
The 2014 Honda Civic, Canada's best-selling car 16 years in a row, and the official vehicle of the Toronto Blue Jays.
What a gorgeous scene out here on the West Coast. Puget Sound, the Olympic range off in the distance. The sun going down, the ferries going back and forth.
You were just talking about Jamie Moyer. Well, King Felix is now past the 2,000 inning threshold with the Seattle Mariners, making he and Jamie Moyer the only 2,000 inning pitchers for this franchise.
Now, Jamie Moyer really blossomed late in his career and really established himself here. I think King Felix is going to blow by that number.
Yeah, 2,093, and he needed just 2 innings to get to 2,000 in his career. Yeah, this is where it all turned around, I think, for Jamie Moyer, right here.
Trying to elevate that fastball. He did. He got underneath it and pushed it much too high. Austin Jackson 0 for 2 so far tonight. There's that fastball right at the top of the zone. Back-to-back strikeouts for Hutchison here in the 5th.
When he's moving that fastball around the strike zone, up and down and in and out, that's when he's at his finest. Look on Jackson, 2 strikes, go upstairs with a fastball, and Drew picks up his 3rd strikeout of the night.
Dustin Ackley has popped out and grounded out. Hutchison got Ackley with runners at 2nd and 3rd to end the 3rd inning, stranding a pair. Seattle has a 2-1 lead, both clubs scoring in the 4th inning. Well, you made a good observation at the start of the bottom of the 4th that looked like Hutchison was overthrowing, and now he's back in that smooth delivery.
Yep. Nice and easy right now. You can see how he stays over the rubber and then explode. It seemed like to Cano, the leadoff batter in that 4th inning, that he overextended and looked like he was trying too hard. ended up walking him, gave up the double to Morales, and now he's back into his delivery. Nice.
That's a good pitch. He didn't get to call. They get some support from his catcher and have a little conversation with the home plate umpire. That ball ran back over the inside corner. Pretty good pitch. 2-2. Look at those pitches all around the border of the strike zone, and Hutchison has located the pitches very well in this at bat. He tries that inside corner again and actually fouls it down the line.
He feels good with his fastball this inning. Looked like Deanna Navarro wanted some kind of off-speed pitch, maybe another changeup, and Drew shook to another fastball inside.
This is sliced down the left side. Long run for Gose, and he slides into that wall as the ball was into the seats out of play. Anthony's out there in left field. This is a spacious outfield, and when you have Gose out there with his great speed, and Rasmussen center and Bautista in right, you cover it pretty well.
This is what you want to do as an outfielder. You just slide and try and break your slide into that wall.
Changeup. Ackley strikes out. Hutchison comes back in the fifth and strikes out the side. The Jays are down by a run. It'll be number 8, Steve Tollison, followed by Anthony Gose. Back to the top of the order, Munenori Kawasaki. 2-1 Seattle. Sportsnet.ca cover every angle of the Toronto Blue Jays. Breaking news, photos, videos, and tweets. The Blue Jays Rundown only on Sportsnet.ca. And tonight's headline on the Blue Jays Rundown: Lynn not with Blue Jays for Mariners opener. But by all accounts, in talking with some Blue Jays officials, the Blue Jays expect him here later on tonight. He was supposed to take some swings in a simulated game in Florida. Rained out yesterday. Remember, he left the game 2 days ago with back problems. They wanted to make sure his back was okay. And hopefully the flight from Florida wasn't too demanding on his back, and he'll be here tomorrow and hopefully into the lineup. Blue Jays bat in the 6th. They're down by a run. Blue Jays have been down by a run going into the bottom of the 9th in each of their last 2 games. They came back to rally and win in extra innings.
It's when they do their best work.
You don't want to practice that every night, though.
No. Not against this team, this bullpen, this Mariner team. Their team earned run average best in the American League.
How about that?
It's actually under 3 now.
299 as a team, the whole team. And that bullpen, they've got some big arms down in that bullpen. Another strikeout for Felix Hernandez. That is 4. When you look at the Cy Young year in 2010, his whip was 106. Look at it this year, under 1. And the ERA, 227 compared to 197 coming into this game tonight. He's having a better year, and he said it himself.
Yeah, it feels like he's throwing the ball better. The numbers prove that out. Those two numbers there, that whip and the earned run average, best in baseball.
Anthony Ghost takes one downstairs. Foul back into the seats. Mariner Moose, he's part of King's Court tonight. Mariner Moose has been a long-time mascot here for Seattle. There's a bouncing ball. Foul at home plate. That hit the batter. Mariner Moose, very animated and active, certainly supportive of King Felix. But McClendon's going to come out and contest the call at home plate. Why did you call that a foul ball? Well, I thought it hit the batter in the batter's box and made contact. Did you ask for any help? Let's take a look at this. It hit him on the toe. Just barely hit him, but you could see his toe moved down and hit him right off the end of the toe. McClendon back to the dugout.
If it didn't hit him off the toe, that was going to be a foul ball towards their dugout. Anthony never moved. He knew right away that he had fouled that off of his foot.
Painting the black as Hernandez delivers that fastball right at the bottom of the strike zone. That's 5 strikeouts, 2 in a row here in the 6th.
You could see it early on in this game that his sights were down low with that fastball, and he was lasering it down at the knees. So the Blue Jay batters, they're really going to have to start looking down. You can see on Pitch Tracker where all those pitches were to Ghosts.
Kawasaki hitting in the leadoff spot. Goes after the first pitch. Jose Reyes is getting the night off, and well deserved. Reyes has played every inning for the last couple of months, and Kawasaki making his second start at shortstop this season. Strike 2. The King's Court back on their feet down the left field line. Hernandez has struck out a pair here in the 6th. Dueling fans here at Safeco Field. 41,168 for a Monday night game.
They love it when the Blue Jays come to town. A lot of jerseys, and it's the King's Court getting into it once again.
Kawasaki spoils the pitch and stays alive. Kawasaki, teammates of Hernandez in 2011. Munenori played in 61 games, had just 104 at bats. He was literally a utility player for the Mariners that first year in the majors. Gets a piece of it.
That pitch is so tantalizing, isn't it? That changeup takes a lot of stress off of your arm, and he's going to it more and more.
Last time out, he used the changeup more than he used his fastball.
And with 2 strikes, he goes to that changeup 47% of the time, nearly half the time with that. The other half is mostly fastball. I mean, that's basically what you're going to get when it gets to 2 strikes. Fastball or the changeup?
Bounced in the dirt. Kawasaki, a tough out. 253 with 2 strikes.
Now I get a couple of foul balls here and just work that count and make Hernandez work.
That's a strike, and it goes all the way back to the screen. Kawasaki's going to reach. Hernandez has 3 strikeouts this inning, but only 2 outs. It's a pass ball charged to Zunino. Went right off his glove.
Yeah, it looked like another changeup also, but it had some movement on it, like some cutting action on it, and it really handcuffed the catcher, Zunino. Kawasaki alertly realizing he didn't tip that one. Hustles to first base.
Melky Cabrera will get a chance with 2 outs. A couple of ground outs so far. Well, it's a slow breaking ball to get a hit. Melky Cabrera and Robinson Cano came up as youngsters in the Yankees system. They were pals for a long time with New York. Broken bat. Cano takes one away from his former teammate. The inning is over. Hernandez strikes out the side. We'll go to the bottom of the 6th. The Blue Jays trailing by a run. Schedule as they'll welcome in 3 of their AL East rivals late in the month. The Rays will be in town first. It starts August 22nd, a 3-game series. And then the Red Sox, 25th, 6th, and 7th. And then the New York Yankees, August 29th through the 31st, the last visit for the Yankees of the season and the last visit for the captain, Derek Jeter, as he'll be retiring at the end of the season. So you want to make sure you get out and check out those 3 series at the end of August. Once Blue Jays get back off this long road trip, call the Jays at 416-341-1234. Or log online to BlueJays.com and order your tickets for the 3 AL East Rivals series at the end of August. Robinson Cano scored the first Mariners run after a leadoff walk in the 4th. Drew Hutchison struck out the side in the 5th. There's a drive deep to left field. Anthony goes looking up. This ball is gone. Robinson Cano, his 10th home run, a leadoff opposite field homer here in the 6th.
You know, all the years that I've been watching Robinson Cano play, I think that's the first time I've seen him go the other way with a pitch. Looked like a sinker going down and away, stay right with it. Shows you the type of power that he does possess. The other way with plenty to spare.
You know what was impressive about that swing? How level the swing was. He stayed right on top of it and drove it out of the ballpark to the opposite field. That bat flew through the hitting zone. 3-1 Mariners. Morales hits it on the ground right to Thomason.
Hit the ball the other way. Watch Cano how he stays back. There's the tuck of the front shoulder and the swing. Watch him go through the baseball with the head down and then the super finish in strong position.
Robinson Cano has a hitting coach in the Dominican Republic who is a former Baltimore Oriole minor leaguer, Luis Mercedes, and he has really helped Cano. And over the last couple of years, Edwin Encarnacion has worked with Mercedes as well. Jose Cano, Robinson's father, was a former pitcher. And Robinson asked his dad about getting a hitting coach for him several years back, and he wanted the hitting coach for the winter in Dominican Republic. And they connected with Mercedes, and he's been getting better ever since.
Boy, what a pure swing he has.
Kyle Seager, the third baseman. Seager had a sac fly as he drove in the first Mariners run of the game. His 72nd ribby of the season. Drew Hutchison coming off a great outing last time out. That one-hit effort through 8 2/3 against the Orioles. But you have to remember he's making just his 35th major league start. He was up with the Blue Jays in 2012, suffered the elbow injury, underwent Tommy John surgery, and this is his first full season back.
You know, and the two pitches that I think are important for him, the changeup and the slider, are pitches that will come the more he pitches. Him missing that whole year, that developmental year, that was huge. Not having that. I think the more he pitches and the more experience he gets, that changeup and slider will just get better.
Seager will take ball 4.
The 2014 Honda Civic, Canada's best-selling car 16 years in a row, and the official vehicle of the Toronto Blue Jays.
Nothing wrong with that picture, that's for sure. Nothing wrong with those seats. That's the high court down the left field line in the upper deck. They're always present when Felix Hernandez makes a start at home. Mike Zunino had an RBI single in the 4th. He drove in the go-ahead run. Zunino played 111 days last year. He was a first-round pick, 3rd overall, 2012. When you look at his minor league numbers, he played parts of 2 seasons in the minor leagues. He had a total of 364 at-bats. That is Brad Mills, who has just rejoined the Blue Jays, and he's heating up in a hurry.
I don't think Zunino is here for his bat. He is here for his defense and his game calling.
Hits this one a long way to right. Bautista back at the track, at the wall. It's off the wall. Seager is headed to 3rd. They're waving him home. Bautista's throw from deep right is not in time. It's cut off. Mike Zunino, an opposite field, a triple off the wall in right, drives in his 2nd run of the night.
Second triple this season. You mentioned that he is strong. He's got some power. 18 home runs, and he's going to set Jose back to right field. And he got crossed up just a little bit. This ball is going to stay in the ballpark. Got turned around, lost track of the baseball. When he reached back to try and catch it, he can't come up with it. It bounces all the way towards the infield. Zunino goes to third base, and that'll bring the infield in.
2 runs here in the 6th. Still just 1 out. The Blue Jays have to bring the infield in. Logan Morrison 1 for 2 with the single. Goes after the first pitch and lifts it high, foul down the left side. Robinson Cano with the leadoff home run here in the 6th, and then Kyle Seager walked. Both of the walks that Hutchison has issued tonight have come around to score. Cano in the 4th, Seager here in the 6th.
Wanted another high fastball there, and Drew got underneath that one. Trying to get Morrison to pop this ball up.
I don't know if that's the right pitch in this situation. A high fastball is something he hit to the outfield. He's looking for a sacrifice fly. They had a pickoff play on. You could see Navarro was shifting to make that throw. Valencia had broke in behind the runner at third. They wanted that ball away off the plate. That was a design play. They put the pickoff at third.
Not too much of the plate right there, and they fouled it off.
One and two, 1 out. 2 runs in here in the bottom of the 6th. Seattle has taken a 4-1 lead. Morrison strikes out on that nasty breaking ball down and in. 5 strikeouts for Hutchison.
Good sequence right there from Navarro and Hutchison. A couple of fastballs up, away, and then Bren that breaking ball right there. That's the kind of depth that you got to get from your breaking ball to get a strikeout against a big left-handed hitter like Morrison. It's a big out.
Andy Chavez has singled and grounded out. Goes after the first pitch and hits it right outside of home. Navarro picked it up and fired to first, but the ball was in foul territory when he grabbed it.
Home plate umpire Quinn Wolcott was all over that one. That's his call. Ball up either line before it gets to the bag. That's the home plate umpire's call, and he was in perfect position and was all over it. Watch the umpire bounce out, get up the line, get a view of that, and he sees right there that that ball is foul.
Good job by the umpire to follow the play up the line, and there's the ball bouncing into foul territory, and the umpire had a perfect view of it.
I like how Navarro drug that ball across the line to make it look like it was still in fair territory.
No balls and a strike. Now it's 0-2. Cano with the home run, Zunino with the triple. This inning, 2 more runs in. Zunino with his second triple of the season. That's a fair ball just inside the bag at third. Zunino comes in to score. Chavez is headed for second. He'll get there standing up. A 2-strike opposite field double for Endy Chavez. He drives in his 14th run of the season, and Seattle has taken a 5-1 lead.
Just trying to protect the plate, and it keeps the ball fair down the left field line, and that's going to be it for Drew Hutchison tonight. Watch him just trying to keep his at-bat alive. Inside-out swing. Just past third base for an RBI double.
An 0-2 pitch hit for a double, and that'll be the last pitch of the game for Drew Hutchison. He leaves with the Blue Jays trailing 5-1. Brad Mills comes in with 2 outs to face Brad Miller. Inning game, the Toronto Blue Jays bullpen. They use 7 relievers. They pitched 15 2/3 innings of scoreless ball. And they pitched out of some trouble. They gave up 13 hits, had 5 walks, but had 13 strikeouts. And that is the longest scoreless outing for a bullpen since the Dodgers had 17 innings in June of '89.
So with every one of those relievers working in yesterday's ballgame, they go down to the minor leagues and they find a fresh arm, and that's Brad Mills. There are his numbers right there. The left-hander just doesn't throw very hard. Fastball, curveball, a little bit of a slider, and a changeup. Into this ball game now. Try and stop this run by the Mariners.
Brad Miller, the shortstop, has had a sacrifice bunt, and he's struck out. Mariners have scored 3 here in the 6th. They've taken a 5-1 lead. Cut on and missed. Oh, 0-2, 2 outs. Way outside. Drew Hutchison sailed through the Mariners lineup in the first 3 innings. He threw just 30 pitches through 3 scoreless innings, and then over the next 2 2/3 it took him 65 pitches. Had a couple of walks that came in to score.
Struck out the side there in the 5th inning, and he was looking pretty good, and then he, just like in the 4th inning, leadoff batter Robbie Cano. He had to deal with him, and Cano homered this time.
Drilled into the alley in right center, and that's going to get down and go to the wall. Chavez jogs around third. He's coming in to score. Miller is held to third. Here's the throw to third. Not in time. Second triple of the inning. Miller with his second triple of the season.
Another batter for the Mariners who falls behind, and the Blue Jays just cannot finish him off. Mills jumped ahead 0-2. Lefty on lefty batter, and he just can't finish him off. 2-strike pitch. This is right down Broadway. And Miller, a very aggressive swinger. swings hard on this one and hits it into the gap for extra bases.
So once again, that'll turn the lineup over. Austin Jackson 0 for 3, and that's unusual for Jackson.
When he's batting against the Blue Jays, it is.
He has the second highest career batting average all time against the Blue Jays, with a minimum of 100 plate appearances. Only John Walkenfuss has a higher batting average. Walkenfuss for his career a .376 hitter than Austin Jackson at .369, the second best average against the Blue Jays all time. There's a strike now, 2-1.
There's some other names on that list that go way back for the Blue Jays.
Kenny Landreau, who started with the Twins and played for the Angels with a .368 career average. Michael Brantley of the Indians, .365. Johnny Ray, who played in Pittsburgh but also played for the Angels, had a .361 career average. Jackson takes ball 4. So that'll bring up Dustin Ackley. He'll be the 9th Mariner to bat this inning. Blue Jays coaching staff obviously a little concerned about the hangover from 19 innings yesterday afternoon.
And the long plane ride here.
Jackson at first, Miller at third. Dustin Ackley, the left fielder, 0 for 3. Ball on a strike. Blue Jays opened up the scoring tonight. Jose Bautista hit his 23rd home run in the 4th inning with 2 outs off Felix Hernandez, and then Mariners came right back and took the lead in the bottom half of the 4th with 2 runs of their own. One and 2 to Ackley, 2 outs. Robinson Cano is on deck. He started the inning with an opposite field home run. There goes Jackson at first. The breaking ball is outside. So Austin Jackson steals second base, his 10th stolen base of the season. Base hit into center. Miller's in to score. Jackson coming around third. Here's the throw from Rasmus way up the line and not close. The Mariners have busted it wide open here in the 6th.
Wide open. The stolen base pays off for the Mariners. Lloyd McClendon sends him to second base. He gets in scoring position. Then the next pitch to Ackley is roped into center field for a 2-run single. That closes the books on Drew Hutchison. 5 2/3 innings. He gave up 6 hits, 6 runs, 6 earned runs, a couple of walks and 5 strikeouts. So Hutchison followed up that dandy against the Baltimore Orioles with 5 2/3 here tonight.
And he got off to a great start. 3 scoreless innings to start the game. He stranded a pair of runners, but the leadoff walk came around to score in the 4th. So Robinson Cano will step to the plate, and he got it all going for the Mariners here in the 6th with an opposite field home run. Brad Mills, a left-handed pitcher, facing Cano, a left-handed batter. Lefty bats have hit .500 against Mills this year. 12 for 24.
Cano's 293 versus lefties this year. It doesn't matter if you're right-handed or left-handed. This guy can just hit. You're going to have to make a good pitch to get this guy out.
He is 1 for 2. He's walked, homered, scored a pair, and driven in a run. Breaking ball inside, ball on the strike. The Blue Jays can't afford to go any deeper into their bullpen. Brad Mills might be out here for a while.
I'm with you on that. 7 relievers yesterday. Everybody worked. He's fresh. He's stretched out. He might have to finish this ball game.
Trying to go deep again. The Mariners have a home run, 2 triples, and a double this inning. Scored 6 runs.
Throwing a walk in there. A couple of walks. One of them has come around to score.
Cano just backed out as that lightning bolt hit high above the stadium, and the crack of thunder followed.
Brings a cheer from the crowd.
Cano fights it off. Still 1 and 2. Well, the Mariner fans have had a lot to cheer about tonight. 8 runs on 9 hits. Another foul back out of play. Brad Mills on in relief of Drew Hutchison, who was knocked out after 5 2/3. Another deep drive to left. Gross is back. He's at the wall. This ball is off the wall. Ackley comes in to score. Cano stops at second. Another double this inning.
And Robbie Cano showing that opposite field power. Wow. Homered the left field to lead off this inning. Hat down the left field line this time. Watch him, that level bat one more time. Watch it, the weight shift, transfer, head down, and he drives that ball the other way. Right at the 376 sign, right at the top of the line. Extra base hit again.
28 double of the season, 403rd of his career. He has learned how to use this spacious ballpark. Go the other way.
5 extra base hits this inning by the Mariners.
Kendrys Morales, a switch hitter, turns around and bats right-handed for the first time. Morales has a double. He scored in the 4th. He's trying to go deep. The high pop into right. Bautista over near the foul line. He'll get there, and the inning comes to an end. But the Mariners send 11 men to the plate. They score 6 runs and have taken a big lead. The 2014 Honda Civic, Canada's best-selling car 16 years in a row, and the official vehicle of the Toronto Blue Jays.
Jose Bautista did his part tonight for the Blue Jays. Got him off to a good start here in the 4th inning. Takes his pitch from Felix Hernandez and hammers it to left field. Deep over the 376, time for his 23rd home run of the season. Our drive of the game tonight by Jose Bautista.
Well, Bautista hit the home run in the 4th, and he has been taken out of this game. Blue Jay fans anticipating a big ball game tonight. Unfortunately, they are down by 8 as the Mariners scored 7 in the 6th. And Nolan Reimold is pinch hitting for Bautista. Reyes got the night off. Melky Cabrera is the DH, and now Reimold will take over for Bautista.
This is all about saving your players. Yesterday was a grind, physically and mentally. Bautista out of the lineup now. Rest up for tomorrow.
Breaking ball for a strike. 0-2. Hernandez struck out the side in the 6th. Actually faced 4 batters. Another strikeout. That's 7 strikeouts for Hernandez.
Working on that streak, 7 innings, 2 earned runs or less. He's there right now. Giving up that 1 run.
He is currently tied with Gaylord Perry, 15 straight starts with 7 or more innings pitched and 2 or fewer earned runs. And that standard goes all the way back to 1914. Only Perry and Hernandez have put together such a streak.
You know, they talk about quality starts all the time, and the standard is 6 innings and 3 or fewer runs. That's not a quality start.
Not at all.
It's a 450 earned run average. I mean, if that's what you think is quality, what Felix Hernandez has done, 7 innings, 2 runs, that's a quality start.
Without question, that's a quality start. We've had some thunder and lightning in the area, and it looks to be drizzling a bit, so they have started the process of closing this roof. It is an open air stadium with a retractable roof. Rasmus pulls it foul. It is a unique design and one that's Very interesting. As you can see, they're rolling the roof over this field, but it is an open air stadium. It's not climate controlled. As you can see, there's open spaces, just like a little roof over this field. Kobe Erasmus has his second hit of the night. He continues to hit Hernandez. He is 7 for 10 against Felix Hernandez. When you look at some of the great pitchers over the history of this game, after 293 starts, we've compared Felix Hernandez to some of the greats, and he stacks up well against some household names.
The greats right here: Bob Gibson, Ferguson Jenkins, Tom Seaver, Pedro Martinez, Felix Hernandez. You got to put him in that same company. That's his whip after his 293 career starts.
Josh Tolley is batting for Deanna Navarro, as John Gibbons is giving the regulars some time off after that grueling 19-inning game yesterday and a long flight to the West Coast. Both of the teams that played in that 19-inning game really got hammered tonight. Tigers lose 11-6 to the Pirates in Pittsburgh. Justin Verlander out after just 1 inning.
Hey, you and I were tired at the end of 19. Can you imagine playing those games?
Yeah, and
just imagine.
Even the emotions of it actually going to sap your energy a little bit more. Up and down, a lot of chances for both teams to win. Totally behind, 1-2. Throwing and missed. Strikeout number 8.
If you're not familiar with it, that changeup, it looks like a splitter coming up there. It's got great movement on it. He throws it with great conviction and arm speed. Turns that one over. Josh Jolie goes after it, swings right over the top of it.
Many people have misidentified that pitch, and they indeed have called it a splitter. You and I both talked to Felix about it, and it is truly a changeup. But he throws it so well. It's a terrific break. Danny Valencia is over 2.
Throws it so hard, and he changes speeds with it. One time it's hard, the next time it floats.
Valencia taps it back to the mound. King Felix has done it. 7 innings. 2 or fewer runs in 16 straight starts. He stands alone in that category. This copyrighted telecast is presented by authority of Rogers Blue Jays Baseball Partnership and may not be reproduced or retransmitted in any form. And the accounts and descriptions of this game may not be disseminated without the express written consent of Rogers Blue Jays Baseball Partnership. We're at Safeco Field in Seattle. Felix Hernandez gets congratulations after he completes 7 innings. 7 innings or more, 2 or fewer earned runs, and he has just set a new record, 16 consecutive, and gets congratulations from Rick Waits, the pitching coach.
He might be done for the night.
Yeah, I think he is.
He's thrown 96 pitches. His last start, he threw 97 pitches, and Lloyd McClendon was asked about that, and he said, I want a strong Felix Hernandez in the month of September. So if he doesn't pitch an inning here or inning there, he's going to save that for September.
He's always been a guy that can throw well over 200 innings. In his Cy Young season, he threw 249 2/3 innings. Looks like he's got plenty of energy left, but he's got an 8-run lead. Why would you send him back out there?
Right. Save those bullets later in the season.
That's bounced foul by Kyle Seager. Seattle, of course, in a hunt for a playoff berth. They got their eyes set on that wild card. Seattle a game and a half back at the start of play. LA has a firm grip on the first wild card spot. Kansas City won tonight. Kansas City now has won 8 in a row. They have taken over first place in the AL Central as the Tigers lost. So now the Tigers are in the wild card role. Look out. Seager takes ball 4. He walks for the second time. Brad Mills into the game. That's Jack Zarinsek, who is the general manager of this team. He's in his 6th season as the GM. He came here from the Milwaukee Brewers. He took over for Bill Bavasi, who was the GM here for 5 seasons. Of course, Bavasi took over for Pat Gillick. Zarinsek was the executive of the year in Milwaukee in 2007. It's interesting in that he wasn't the GM, and he was the first non-GM to be voted the executive of the year. He was the director of scouting for Milwaukee. Interesting that they thought so much of his efforts as a scouting director. Spent 9 years in Milwaukee. Mike Zunino, young catcher for the Mariners. He's had RBI single and RBI triple. He scored a run. Josh Tolley working behind the plate now with Brad Mills.
He's got to finish this one off. Take this one for the team.
And he probably knows that he is headed back to AAA after this game. Blue Jays expect to have Adam Lind here sometime tonight and would activate him tomorrow. And it seems logical that Brad Mills would be the one that is sent back to the minors.
That happens a lot. Seattle Mariners did it yesterday. Remember, we were talking about pushing Felix Hernandez to this game. His day was yesterday. They brought up Erasmo Ramirez to throw in yesterday's game. As soon as the game was over and they won that, they sent him back down to the minor leagues.
He was pitching in the 5th and had 2 outs. Did not qualify for the win as Lloyd McClendon sensed that he was running out of gas. Took him out of the game. So Zunino walks. Back-to-back walks issued by Mills here in the 7th. Logan Morrison singled, flew out, and struck out so far tonight. Morrison has dealt with injuries throughout his career. He has basically just one full season. That came in 2011. Waits on that breaking ball and taps it foul. Breaking ball, pulled foul again by Morrison. Both pitchers got out to a good start. It was scoreless through 3, and the Blue Jays broke through on Jose Bautista's 2-out home run in the 4th. But Drew Hutchison walked Cano to start the bottom of the 4th, and he would come around to score, and the Mariners would take a 2-1 lead as Mike Zunino drove in Kendrys Morales.
You're talking about Morrison, and basically played 1 full season in the major leagues. He's got some power. That season, he played a full season. He had 23 home runs to go along with 25 doubles, so he's got some pop. Does that look like a man whose night is finished?
Yeah. Yeah, he went his 7 innings. He has pitched his team in position to win. As Felix Hernandez came into this game with a 12-3 record, and he's got a 9-1 lead right now. Two balls and 2 strikes, first and second, still nobody out. He hit Morrison, so that'll load the bases. Back-to-back walks and a hit batter. So bases are loaded. Mariners will send up a pinch hitter. It'll be James Jones, who was just called up from AAA Tacoma. He played earlier in the season with the Mariners, and he's a very interesting young outfielder. He was the center fielder until they acquired Austin Jackson. He was sent back to AAA, but he has been recalled from Tacoma.
Exciting player. He's got a lot of speed.
Goes after that first pitch. He has 20 stolen bases this season.
They had a player named Almonte who started in center field for him this year, and then Jones was out there, and I think they've settled on Austin Jackson. But Jones can provide some speed off the bench for you.
He was an interesting player in college. He was a pitcher and threw hard, threw 95 miles an hour. And he's got a terrific arm, as you would expect from the outfield. He's from Brooklyn, New York. Went to Long Island University and played baseball there. Mills misses with the fastball. It's 2-1. Dustin McGowan is loosening up. John Gibbons was hopeful he wouldn't have to go any deeper into his bullpen. Mills has been starting in AAA.
Made
but
3 starts.
Throw any strikes.
Made 3 starts down in AAA. And only threw 14 innings in those 3 starts. But you're right, he stretched out. It'd be nice if Dustin McGowan could take a night off. The whole bullpen could take a night off.
Ground ball to short. Kawasaki second for 1, back to first, not in time. A run comes in. Seager scores. Jones gets an RBI. He legged it out at first and picks up the RBI. That's his 9th of the season. So they get the out at second. That's the first out of the inning. 6-4 on the force out. Brad Miller had an RBI triple in the 7-run 6th inning. Goes after the first pitch, and it's a fly ball deep to left. Tagging at third is the catcher Zanino. They'll go to second, and he'll come in to score. Miller picks up another RBI with a sac fly to left.
He's not shy. He's got a sacrifice bunt, a triple, and now a sacrifice fly. Picking on the first pitch. Blue Jays just counting the outs right now. Time to regroup.
11-1 Seattle. Austin Jackson hasn't joined the hit parade tonight. He's 0 for 3. He walked and scored in the 6th. Since 2007, the Mariners against the Jays at home have a 15-8 record here at Safeco Field. What's interesting about that is they have a negative run differential. The Blue Jays have outscored them by 3 runs, but the Mariners have won 15 of the 23 games. The run differential is going to take a beating tonight.
It's going to change after tonight. You got King Felix. He was on his game. And the bullpen has been leaky tonight. Doesn't get any easier for the Blue Jays either. This team can pitch.
Chris Young goes tomorrow, and he's had a very good season. Veteran right-hander, 6'10" out of Princeton. And then in the series finale is Sashi Iwakuma, who's nasty. Iwakuma 10-6 with a 286 earned run average. Joe Bimo, the left-hander, appears as though he's coming into the game. Jackson strikes out. The inning comes to an end, but the Mariners score 2 more here in the 7th. They've taken a commanding 11-1 lead. Felix Hernandez in line for his 13th win. Play the Game is brought to you by the Sleeman Speakeasy. Only the notorious get in. Enter for your chance at SleemanSpeakeasy.ca.
Play of the game tonight is going to be Felix Hernandez extending his major league record of 7 innings pitched and 2 or fewer earned runs in a ball game. He was dealing, you could tell from the first inning. He retired the first 3 batters very quickly. The only mistake he made was the home run to Jose Bautista. He ended up with 8 strikeouts in 7 innings of work. The only run charged him was the home run by Bautista. And Felix Hernandez is on some kind of historic roll.
Hernandez will improve to 13-3. He goes 7 innings, 3 hits, just the 1 earned run, didn't walk a batter, and struck out 8. This will be his first win against the Blue Jays here at Safeco Field in 4 career starts. He had not pitched well against them in the past. Different story tonight. Left-hander Joe Beimel comes in. He makes his 41st appearance. Beimel will start the 8th. Juan Francisco is the first batter.
Veteran Beimel has been around a long time. He was originally a draft pick of the Pirates. Some defensive changes. Chris Taylor takes over at shortstop, moving Brad Miller over to second base.
Robinson Cano out of the game. Francisco fouls it off. Beimel is now 38 years old. He's had 12 seasons in the big leagues. And there's James Jones. He is in right field for Indy Chavez. He pinch hit for Chavez. Right out in the corner. Beimel, you talk about persistence. He was released 4 times during the course of his career. But he's left-handed.
Yep, and you always have a chance. He was an 18th round draft pick of the Pirates in 1998.
Missed that outside corner. You could see he can locate 2 left-handed hitters throwing that pitch down and away. Francisco strikes out. That's the 9th strikeout for the Blue Jays tonight. Hernandez had 8. Beimel gets his first man. We're in the 8th. Blue Jays went pitch for pitch, actually had a lead, took a 1-0 lead in the 4th, but they saw that evaporate, and it's been all Mariners since. Collison goes after the first pitch and grounds it to third. 2 up, 2 down. The Summer Friday Fan Festival is presented by Bacardi. Friday, August 22nd, the Blue Jays will take on the Tampa Bay Rays. Game time is 7:07 p.m. Come on down to Rogers Center early and check out the pre-game festivities happening outside of gate number 10. Blue Jays alumni Dwayne Ward and Rance Mullinax will be signing autographs from 5:30 to 6:30 p.m. Call the Blue Jays at 416-341-1234 to order your tickets, or log online at BlueJays.com. Get your tickets for the Summer Friday Fan Festival. Anthony Gose goes after the first pitch. Gose playing in left field tonight. Melky Cabrera was the DH. Blue Jays 1 run on 3 hits. They have been stymied by King Felix and now Joe Beimel.
It's funny how those numbers play out again. The 2 batters that have had success against Felix Hernandez do it again tonight, and that's it. Colby Rasmus and Jose Bautista.
They have all the hits. Rasmus came into this game 5 for 7 against Felix Hernandez. Ghost strikes out. Quick inning for Joe Beimel. Couple of strikeouts. Let's go to the bottom of the 8th. It's time for Blue Jays Central Update. Here's Jamie Campbell and Greg Zahn. WWE Network is coming to Canada in the new WWE Net Pack subscription service. Relive epic WWE moments with hours of on-demand content and every live pay-per-view, including SummerSlam. Free previews begin tomorrow on Rogers Channel 512. Call your local service provider for details or visit WWE.com. Dustin Ackley has gone 1 for 4. He had a 2-run single in the 6th inning. Mariners broken wide open in the 6th. They scored 7 runs on 6 hits and a walk. Drew Hutchison started that inning. Brad Mills entered the inning with 2 outs. Slow breaking ball. Mills will go to the bag, and Ackley's retired.
You know, the Mariners have been looking for some kind of consistency from their offense this year. They got the pitching part down, and they've got the defense part down. They're just looking for a little bit more consistency from their offense.
The bottom 4 spots in the lineup tonight have done a nice job for them. Mike Zunino, Logan Morrison, Endy Chavez with a couple of hits and an RBI. Then the pinch hitter James Jones drove in a run. Brad Miller's had a couple of RBIs with a triple and a sacrifice fly. So they've done a nice job. Good balance in the attack. Everybody making a contribution. All the starters have either collected a hit or scored a run. Interesting, they scored 11 runs. Every starter but Logan Morrison has scored. Of course, it helps when you send 11 men to the plate in the 6th inning.
And Austin Jackson doesn't have a hit.
No. And he has worn out the Blue Jays throughout his career.
Maybe he doesn't have that Tiger uniform on anymore. It'll be different now.
Mike Zunino, the catcher, had a good night. Chris Taylor batting for the first time. Came in the game as a defensive replacement, batting in Robinson Cano's spot. He's gotten off to a great start in his young career. He was called up on the 24th of July. And he has gone 18 for 45. Only had 49 plate appearances, but you see he's got a hit streak going. Taylor was a draft pick of the Mariners out of the University of Virginia, 5th round pick.
Made a tough error the other day in a game that cost him against the Chicago White Sox. He's become their everyday shortstop since he's been called up.
Drives this ball to right. Nolan Rymel took over for Bautista. He's there and makes the catch. 2 down. That'll bring the DH to the plate, Kendrys Morales. Blue Jays and Mariners will be right back at it tomorrow night. It'll be Chris Young at 10-6 against Jay Happ, 8-6. It all starts at 10 Eastern tomorrow night. Some long faces in the crowd wearing those Blue Jays jerseys.
They were fired up today. Getting to the ballpark, and then Bautista goes deep, and everybody's fired up, and then the roof caved in the 6th inning.
They'll bounce back tomorrow. Great crowd on hand for the first of 3, 41,168. Morales strike 2.
I think they'll bounce back tonight after the game. Well, there's no doubt we'll see them on our way back to the hotel.
Strike 3 call. Curveball. Morales didn't like the call. Mills retires the side in order. We'll go to the ninth. It's all Mariners. It'll be connected with Ivanka Osmak and Caroline Cameron right after this game. Lots to talk about tonight. A lot of pennant races, and how about the Kansas City Royals taking over first spot in the AL East? And I'm sure the ladies will break it all down for you right after this ball game. Danny Farquhar into the ball game, the former Blue Jay, has pitched a lot and has pitched well for Seattle.
He was their closer last year, and he has now been more of a setup to a bridge part this year. 46 games, 1-1 with a 274 earned run average. He comes right after you with that fastball. Curveball and a cutter, 3/4 arm slot for Farquhar. He's put up some good numbers. Look at the strikeouts per 9 innings. 10 strikeouts per 9 innings. Not a big guy, but he'll come right after you.
He's now 27 years old. The Blue Jays drafted him out of the University of Louisiana Lafayette. 10th round pick in 2008. He was actually traded to Oakland for Rajay Davis in November of 2010, and then came back to the Blue Jays in 2011 in a trade for David Percy. Kawasaki in the leadoff spot tonight takes strike 2.
You can see he throws a lot of strikes. Just 15 walks this year for Farquhar.
Up and away. Well, the Blue Jays are going to have to turn things around in a hurry. They'll be right back at it tomorrow night. This is the first of 7 games these two teams will play, and this is the first meeting of the season. Kawasaki hits it right to the third baseman. Nice play by Kyle Seager. 1 out. Now for a preview of what's coming up next on Connected. Here's Ivanka Osmak and Caroline Cameron. Thank you very much, ladies, and that's all coming up right after this ball game, so make sure you stay tuned. Now, Kate Cabrera has been shut out 0-for-3 tonight. Blue Jays have just 3 hits. Bautista with a solo home run. Kobe Erasmus with a pair of hits. Might want to save those rally caps for another day.
Or when the score's a little closer.
Felix Hernandez went 7. Set a new major league record for consecutive games of 7 innings or more, allowing 2 or fewer earned runs. 16 straight starts. He stands alone in that category. Blue Jays and the Tigers played 19 innings yesterday, and tonight both teams allowed 11 runs. I guess that's not a surprise.
Not a coincidence either. I mean, those were grinders yesterday. The last 2 games against the Tigers, mentally and physically tough. Not that there's a letdown, it's just
worn out.
Worn down.
It was an emotional game as well because there were so many opportunities for each club to win it. Great defensive plays by Rajay Davis and Colby Rasmus, the 2 center fielders. Breaking ball. Melky lines it to center. Jackson is there. Blue Jays 2 outs here in the 9th.
How about the reversed calls yesterday that really helped the Blue Jays? The one on Anthony Gos's center at second base in that last inning. I mean, those kind of emotional turns like that, it's wears you down.
Nolan Raimo pinch hit for Bautista in the 7th and struck out. It was against Felix Hernandez. Raimo went around. When you think about the results of the last 3 games, you had Max Scherzer, David Price. The Blue Jays won both of those games. It looks like they're going to lose this game to a former Cy Young Award winner, Felix Hernandez. And I guess 2 out of 3 is not bad.
Yeah. I mean, that's how the song goes, right? 2 out of 3 ain't bad. Against the Cy Youngers. Tomorrow, Chris Young, he might look easy to hit after facing the guys that they have faced the last couple of nights.
He has been very good this season, and he's a totally different type of pitcher than Hernandez. Raimo stays alive with its check swing temper. Breaking ball in the dirt. Well, the interesting development, we'll find out a little bit more about tomorrow, whether or not Adam Lind is back with the ball club. He is thought to be on his way here to Seattle. There's the strikeout. That's the ball game. The Blue Jays get hammered in the first of 3. They lose 11-1 to Felix Hernandez, who improves to 13-3. First of 3. We'll be right back at it tomorrow night. Jay Happ will go to the mound against Chris Young. Thanks for watching. We'll see you tomorrow night. Stay tuned. Connected coming right up. Here's Ivanka Osmak and Carolyn Cameron.